Hi, need a ride? Hop on in. I'm headed to Julia's Trucking Cafe. Come on, let's go. Cool, we made it just in time. Come on, let's go get a seat. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Julia's Trucking Cafe. How's everybody doing this evening? I hope everybody had a good weekend, made lots of money, is trucking safe and sound. Right off of 64 at the Loves, broadcasting live this evening from the Loves parking lot in Kentucky. So it's in between Louisville and Lexington. Tonight we're going to be discussing a lot of different current events, and later on we're going to be having a special guest. My friend Lori is returning to the show to discuss with me the John Christner lawsuit, if you saw that in the news at all. So right now I want to remind everybody that the heavy road use tax is due the end of this month, here in a couple of weeks. The IRS issued a reminder, this was back in July, that the heavy highway vehicle use tax filings are due at the end of August. Form 2290 must be filed by August 31st. This tax applies to vehicles with a gross vehicle weight of 55,000 pounds or more. The tax is based on the weight of the vehicle, and a variety of special rules apply, the agency said in a press release. The IRS encourages truckers to use the e-file form 2290 rather than the paper copy annual filing. Excuse me. There is no need to visit an IRS office because the form can be filed and any required tax payment can be made online, said the IRS. And generally, e-filers receive their IRS stamp Schedule 1 electronically minutes after their filing. And then you can print it out and provide it to your State Department of Motor Vehicles without visiting an IRS office. If you need an appointment for assistance with the form, it can be made at IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center by calling 844-545-5640. That's 844-545-5640 to find out more if this is the first time you're filing this form 2290. And in some news, some tragic news, a FedEx driver was hurt on I-40 after he got done hitting another truck and going off the road, down in between the two bridges, down the embankment into a creek. It happened on the 10th, just a few days ago, westbound I-40 near St. Francis County in Arkansas. The police say that another semi-truck was involved in a crash that sent the FedEx truck careening off of the interstate. They're going to, he just went over the side and down. He was pulling doubles. I don't know if he was the large, over-the-road truck or if he was a day cab, but this will be in the show notes. The link to the article will be in the show notes. And, again, a lot of my sources that I use are CDL Life and Overdrive Magazine is where I get a lot of from. Then just about 45 minutes after that crash, the first crash, a second truck crashed and went off the side of the interstate as well. So it was just minutes apart. And, he was pulling doubles. one passerby said you could see the truck going in a big ball of dust, and him and his wife were driving from Oklahoma to Oklahoma from Jackson, Tennessee at the time this occurred. He said him and his wife immediately pulled over. He readied himself for a venture into the water. And he said, yeah, I threw my shoes off real quick and put on some old shoes I had, which shoes were brand new, and I didn't want to get them all wet. But that was very nice of him and his wife to pull over to try to help this FedEx driver. He was airlifted to the hospital with severe injuries to Memphis, and he temporarily lost consciousness. Our prayers are with that driver and his family that he does make a full recovery. I just sincerely say over and over and over again, this show is kind of off the cuff as well, that, you can't be tailgating. You can't, especially with doubles and triples, because why do they call them wiggle wagons? They call them wiggle wagons for a reason. Also, if I'm a little bit loud this evening, I'm having to use my headset. Normally when I record the show, off topic just a little bit, normally when I record the show, I do it over my Wi-Fi. Like I mentioned to you in a past episode, that's why it's kind of in and out, in and out. We'll see what this does using my Blue Parrot headset that I have to use, and I'm calling in over my phone to record this show. So we'll see what this does. I spend a lot of money on my Yeti microphone, regular studio microphone to use here, but if I'm not having a special guest call in, I could go ahead and, pre-record a show or a series or anything like that, or videos, and use that microphone or presentation or whatever, use my Blue Yeti microphone in that regard. But unless I have DSL or something like that where I'm hardwired in with Ethernet, at my home office or something to record a show, maybe in the future I can, set up and be like Bill O'Reilly or, Dan Bongino or some of the Mark Levin or some of the good ones, the talk shows that I listen to, and use my, Yeti microphone. Also in other news, the FMCSA head Martinez looks at speaking with truck drivers for hours of service reform and stronger relations. This article, there again, appeared in Overdrive Online magazine. I'm also going to have the link in the show notes. We know Mr. Martinez is the administrator of the FMCSA. Tweaking the hours of service regulation in the coming months, particularly around allowing greater flexibility for drivers to split their 10-hour off-duty period into segments, and potentially reevaluating the 30-minute break requirement set in 2013. Well, Mr. Martinez, I have a question for you. What the heck have you been doing? They've been having a pilot program for the last year overlooking to splitting the sleeper berths. What have you been doing for 4 months that you've been, we've been harping about this? I understand that you're just coming into office and everything, but what have you been doing? In an exclusive interview with Overdrive on Tuesday, Martinez talked hours of service, the industry's transition to electronic logging devices, the sticky nature of detention time, and how he hopes to reshape the agency's relationship with the industry it regulates. He'd like to be able to see a year from now that the industry has noted a difference in posture from the previous 3 or 5 years with the agency, that we are more receptive to new ideas, that we listen better, that we're more cooperative with industry and trying to work together to make roadways safer. A year from now? Really? Really? You need to keep going around the country to all these trucking shows and listening to us drivers, not all the organizations, I'm sorry, like OIDA. My show is from a truck ground standpoint. Mr. Martinez, I'm calling you out. Why don't you come on my show? Why don't you want to talk to someone like me, who is a driver, who is doing this, who isn't in Congress, who is in with Women in Trucking Association, who is affiliated with OOIDA, who is a 30-year veteran out here. And we have pertinent questions for you to answer. Why don't you want to come on my show? Why can't I get a response from you to come on my show? And sit down, and talk about these issues. Talk about the E-logs, ELDs, the hours of service, sleeper berth, splitting the sleeper berth time, detention time. This is all what we're flexibility with the shippers and the receivers. These are pertinent issues. But no, you want to, go to all these fancy schmancy forums, the American Trucking Show, the Midwest Trucking Show, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, because you can do a large number once. I also have an audience that's growing. Like I said, boots on the ground, drivers that do this day in and day out, not that aren't affiliated with any politics at all. So I ask you, I invite you to come on my show. Tina said in his conversations with drivers and carriers in his 6 months on the job that a key word continues to arise, flexibility. That's what he keeps hearing. We need some flexibility, he said. He's hoping in the next few months we can move forward some thoughts about how that might make sense. I think it's worth revisiting the hours of service and looking at providing greater flexibility. You think? Duh. The 30-minute break, which is required within a driver's first 8 hours on duty, is an often criticized component of the hour regulations, Martinez said. That's one area across the board we've heard complaints about. Why wouldn't we look at that? Yeah, that's our question. Why don't you look at that? The other issue is to revisit the issue of the split sleeper to see what kind of flexibility that can be added there. Martinez noted that the industry is still in a transitional phase with the implementation of the ELD mandate, with drivers, carriers, and enforcers still adjusting to the change. By and large, I am pleased with the way this is rolling out, and we will continue to listen to drivers and carriers and work with them to be flexible where we can. I see this as not closing the door on the ELD issue. It's something we're working through to make sure everybody gets used to using them over the coming year. Also could be a step toward holding shippers and receivers accountable for long detention times, he said. Acknowledging that the agency doesn't exactly have regulatory authority over shippers and consignees. Martinez says ELD should bring to the forefront what a significant issue this is. While he said he understands there's disagreement on whether the driver shortage is a reality or not, Martinez said inefficiencies in the supply chain caused by detention exacerbate the issue. How can you have a driver shortage and have detention times that go into the hours, he said. That's a terribly inefficient use of a valuable resource. You think? We got 14 hours in a day, right? Am I right? And you're going to spend 16 of it at a shipper. Yeah, you get a 10 in, but you're waiting by your phone to have the shipper or the consignee call you that you're in a door or your product is ready or your load is ready. Walmart, that when your load is done because you've got to drop your trailer because some numbnuts just had to, go ahead and pull out when they weren't ready to, their trailer wasn't done being empty yet, is my point, where I'm trying to go with this. And turn around and don't, they pull out, and so now we have to drop the trailer. We have to go park across the parking lot from the trailer. You can't even catch a nap or anything. Walmart's getting pretty good. They knocked it down about 4 hours out of your 14 to get unloaded. But there's a lot of produce that they're pulling it out of the field and having it cool it down. I remember pulling produce out of California, and it was 16-hour wait because it wasn't ready. I got the load on Tuesday. I didn't get loaded until Wednesday, but be back in Cincinnati by Sunday. Run around California Thursday and Friday, 2,300 miles in 3.5 days, 700 miles a day, foot to that floor. drive your 10, go to bed, get up when that 10 is done, and keep on going. And make it, too. Dog tired. Boy, your butt's dragging when you walk in the door. They're going, what's the matter with you? And they wonder why I have an attitude. Article. Sorry, I digressed. Moving on to CSA Safety Measurement System reform, FMCSA is planning a robust listening session for the fall to address reforms to the agency's Compliance, Safety, and Accountability Program. And the agency is in the midst of reforming the program based on recommendations from the National Academies of Science, who last year recommended sweeping changes to the carrier rating program. The agency announced last month. Martinez encouraged participation in the listening session as well as other chances to provide the agency with feedback. We're not going to progress without robust industry participation, he said. We could take criticism, constructive criticism, that's good. That's the way this is supposed to work. But if we move forward with proposals that you agree with, what I would ask is that you voice your support when we do that. If you like it, don't assume it's going to get done. These are put out as proposals and will never get done unless there's support from the regulated community. So it seems to me that he's going about it the right way. And, it's just really good that he's really wanting to sit down and speak with everybody. In his term as FMCSA administrator, Martinez said he hopes to see truck and bus crashes and fatalities and injuries stemming from those crashes start to trend downward again. In other words, start to decrease. The last few years, they have been on the rise. I don't have to tell people in this industry who drive for a living that the landscape out there is dangerous, in large part because of bad driving behaviors by passenger vehicles. I'm hoping that certainly in the 3 years that I'm here, and hopefully longer, that we will see a better integration of new technologies that will help crash prevention. I would hope to see safety numbers moving in the right direction. There again, you can go ahead and read more on this article. It'll be in the show notes at juliastruckingcafe.com. Under the cafe menu, just look for show notes. That's juliastruckingcafe.com. I want to thank all my new listeners and new subscribers. I even got a review on Twitter, which I thought was really, really cool. So thank you again so much for listening. Tonight's show is brought to you by Julia's Virtual Assistant Service. If you need a transcript for your podcast or a website built, contact Julia's Virtual Assistant Service by going to their website at juliasvaservice.com. That's juliasvaservice.com for all of your transcription and website needs. All right, I would like to go ahead and welcome Lori to the show. Thank you so much, Lori, for joining us this evening.
You're welcome, Julia.
And have you heard about this Christner lawsuit that's been going on?
Yeah, I was reading about it earlier today, as a matter of fact.
And what are your thoughts on it? Or do you think I should go ahead and let everybody know exactly what the lawsuit is about? I think that's a better idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe you better bring everybody else up to speed because I'm kind of a little confused. I mean,
so this Mr. Huddleston, I'm sorry, Mr. Huddleston was working for John Christner Trucking, and he brought a lawsuit against John Christner Trucking back in September of 2017, last fall, and that he said that they, according to Mr. Huddleston, that Christner violated the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, by misclassifying him and other independent contractors. Instead of employees, they classified them as independent contractors and requiring them to work without compensation. John Christner is a trucking company headquartered in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, and he hauls products throughout the, contiguous United States, just like you and I do. And Mr. Huddleston drove for them from May 2016 to August of 2016. He said that under that action, he was performed to do work over 100 hours a week, that he was required to lease equipment from them, and that Mr. Christner had full control of the equipment. There again, I will have this this latest filing in the show notes, even though I may not supposed to, but I will anyway. And how he leased the equipment, but yet he couldn't take it someplace else to another contractor and work for them. I'm like, what? Say what? So, so what were you confused about on this?
Well, that was one of the things I was a little confused about. If you enter into a lease operator contract, you're not an employee. Although you're leased to a company, you're not supposed to use said equipment to haul your own freight without company permission. So I guess maybe the biggest issue was when he left them, he wasn't allowed to take the truck with him. Was that the issue? I mean, I really don't understand. And how was he allowed to work 100 hours a week? That's not legal. Unless he's counting all of his sitting hours, which we don't get paid for as lease operators to begin with. So I'm kind of confused. And when I was reading the article, it goes back to they're stating that they've been doing this for a minimum of 4 years that they can prove.
Right.
But I'm in a lease operator contract right now. I can't haul anybody else's freight. I'm 100% responsible for my vehicle. I don't get compensation from my company, although I can take my truck with me if I leave because I brought my truck here.
But you also bought it from a third party, not who you're leased to, correct?
Correct. But from what I understand,
he's under a lease purchase. From what I understand, he's under a lease purchase buying the equipment from JCT. Like I'm buying my truck from the company I'm leased from, or like you're buying a truck from CR England. That's not what I'm understand. According to what I read, he was recommended to lease the truck, which was on JCT property, from Triple Diamond Leasing Company. So it's not a JCT truck. Owned. Yes, it is. They're owned by JCT. That's a subsidiary of JCT.
So it's just like CR England, because CR England owns Premier, and that's who they lease your trucks through.
Yes.
And when you leave CR England, unless you go to a sister company, you can't take your vehicle with you either.
Yes. Exactly.
I know that for a fact.
Unless you pay it off. They give you title in hand, then you can take it. When you get title in hand, then you can take it any doggone place you want to.
Right, but you're not going to ever
whoever
get your
you
title.
Want to.
Yeah, well, when you work for CR England, you're never going to get your title in hand. You can't make enough money.
And there's another. I'm just saying. Now I'm using CR England as an example. I'm not picking on them. I mean, there's Prime is out there too, the same way. And a lot of people, they look at leasing a truck like a car. When it gets old and worn out and 500,000 miles, they'll just trade it in and get another brand new one. Never owning it, and they're in. Yeah, they're always. And me, I don't want to do that. I want to own the vehicle and then get the title and then go trade it in myself for what I want. Not it has to be the same Kenworth or something like that. Now, what it said here is that, I'm reading on, I forget what page this is, page 4 of 9, that this Huddleston, Lewis, and Bittner and Burnett allege that they each worked for JCT as a truck driver for a period of months or years, that they were misclassified as independent contractors. Under the terms of their operating and lease agreements, JCT exercised complete control over their trucks and work-related activities. JCT accomplished this in part by requiring them to lease their trucks and purchase equipment from JCT, and by mandating their assignments, schedules, and routes. If they or JCT terminated their operating agreements, JCT had the option to terminate their lease agreement without notice and take immediate possession of the truck. Yes, because you didn't pay it off. It's not yours until you pay it off.
No, it's not.
So
yeah. So what? I don't understand how they're bringing this.
Yeah, it isn't. To me, this is a frivolous lawsuit.
I don't understand why the lawyers are even bringing it. You think they would understand law? I mean, if you don't pay for something, although I don't understand how they can just repossess fire you and repossess it if you're leasing.
If you're refusing
to
loads. If you're refusing loads.
But it doesn't say he was refusing loads. He's saying he worked 100 hours a week. How is that possible? I'm confused on that. And I don't understand why.
Once on the road, they routinely work 10 to 14 hours per day. We all do that. And 70 to 98 hours per week. JCT compensated them based on three factors: a flat rate per mile, like $1 to a mile, plus fuel surcharge, whatever. Reimbursements for certain categories of expenses, and 3 deductions for inter alia lease payments, various insurance premiums, Qualcomm communication systems, licenses, maintenance and repair, cleaning services, fuel costs, freight charges, physical examinations, and drug screens. Oh, and they're also complaining that they had to go to Oklahoma for orientation and were not compensated for it. We're not paid for coming to orientation. That's another thing that's in the lawsuit.
Not a company driver.
Right. And a lot of times you have to find your own way there if you're going to be a owner operator. You have to drive up for something.
I don't understand.
It's not expected. They're expecting to be compensated for like an employee for orientation. They're not. They're fighting apples and oranges and want it to be oranges or something because of the fact they're looking at it from an employee mentality, but yet they were an owner operator. That's what I'm assuming out of this. And they didn't know for me personally, it doesn't sound like they knew their butt from a hole in the ground about being an owner operator, lease operator, or any kind of operator, as much as they're complaining about. You know,
I can see complaining about being locked into a lease that you don't get to keep the vehicle and move forward with it to another company. But some companies do that. As far as not being compensated for orientation, they paid the hotel bill. They probably got a food voucher for dinner because that's what most companies do. What else do you expect? You expect an hourly rate to sit in a room and be orientated? I don't understand that. And what is this about? What page is this on? Page 6. I think it's page 6.
Okay.
No, it's page... Goodness, it's not scrolling up. Anyways, it says here, number 34, drivers, including plaintiff, are regularly denied timely meals due to delivery deadlines imposed by JCT. Drivers are often unable to take a lunch break or alternatively take a working lunch. Lunch breaks often occur after 5 hours of work. Drivers, including plaintiff working longer than 10-hour days, regularly did not have an opportunity to take a second lunch break. We don't. We don't get to take 2 breaks. I mean, but if you're an owner-operator and you want to take a break that badly, you stop and go to the bathroom. How hard is it to take, 10 minutes to eat something? You're not going to get paid for it.
Right. There
And
again,
drivers
they're
are often
acting like they're in a union almost. I got to have my 9 o'clock break and my 3 o'clock break and my noon break, and then I'm going to stop driving at 4 o'clock. No, I can't drive more than 420 miles in a day. Can't forget that one.
It says, additionally, drivers are regularly unable to take timely rest breaks due to delivery deadlines imposed by JCT. Drivers are often unable to take a rest break. This is number 35. It's right under the first one. And I think it's page 7 or 8. And then it says drivers are often unable to take a rest break in the first 4 hours of work. Drivers are also regularly unable to take a second rest break after 6 hours of work. Did they not know the DOT regulations? And if you're an owner-operator, if you're an independent contractor, why can't you stop and take 10 minutes to feed yourself, or stop and take a half hour to rest if you're tired? You're supposed to take a half-hour break in the first 8 hours in the first place. So I don't understand. Of course, this was before that. That was before this regulation, but I don't understand why they're bringing the lawsuit at all. It seems that the DOT regulations have been bypassed, and the driver's now saying that I was treated like an employee, but at the same time he's saying he's not treated like an employee.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to take 2 breaks a day, and he doesn't get to take a rest break in a timely manner. Well, you're an owner-operator. Those are things that you have to work into your schedule. You don't get paid for them. I don't understand that.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, with any load because I haul a lot of meat. So, for example, now I have a lot of times where, I don't get a rest break all day. I don't stop all day long because I'm doing 3, 4, and 5 drops. But now, this load that I'm on, I had a drop, this morning, at 11:30 this morning. Well, my next drop isn't till midnight. Well, then my next drop isn't till 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Well, now I got too much time on my hands, and I'm going berserk. Where most of the time, it's 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Then you have 8 o'clock in the morning. Then you got a 10 o'clock in the morning. And then you might, then you don't have another one until 6 a.m. the next morning. It's already 3 drops. How many times? I've been doing this for almost a year now. For, with the company that I'm leased to. And there again, I'm not going to say who it is. But I get that all the time. Go cry a river somewhere.
I know. And here's another one. The company you're leased to, they require you to have a sign on your truck so that when you get to your shippers and receivers, you can identify the truck as being your truck with the company you're leased to. They're complaining about that as well. Number 38, JCT exercises significant behavioral and financial control over drivers, including establishing that they are in fact employees when they've already said that they are called lease operators or independent contractors. Specifically, the control includes drivers requiring to purchase JCT logos and place them on their leased vehicles. Why is that a problem?
Right.
How else are they supposed to identify you? They're also supposed to check in with supervisors. Yeah, that's an FMCSA regulation.
Yeah.
And why are they complaining about having...
Yeah.
Why are they complaining about having to check in with their supervisors on the Qualcomm?
To put in an arrival call, a depart call, and I'm on my way to go get the load call. That's just part of trucking. Apparently, this guy doesn't know anything about trucking, this Huddleston. Doesn't know nothing about trucking. Doesn't know nothing about being an owner-operator. But yet, there again, I want to know how much experience he has. I want to know how, was he a company driver, an owner-operator, what? What is his background?
Well,
I can't find really a whole lot on him.
He's claiming that he's being treated like an employee, but according to all the lawsuit grounds, He's not being treated like an employee. He's being treated like an independent contractor, and he doesn't like it.
Right.
He's also complaining that he's required to prepare and submit required documentation in accordance with JCT's policies and procedures. Does he want to get paid?
Right.
I don't understand what his problem is.
All right, you're reading from the petition?
I read the entire thing. I read every single word of this thing, okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
well, because I'm sorry, I downloaded the opinion in the recent order that just happened in May, and that's where I got a lot of my information from, and that must be the original petition back in September. This is the
60-page document.
Yeah, that must be the original petition back in September. My bad.
Yeah.
So he's
complaining that he has. Sorry, he's also complaining he's got to pay for the repairs on his truck, and the company takes it out of the settlement. Obviously, him and everybody else that joins this lawsuit either doesn't know what they're doing, don't understand what the lawsuit is attempting. It has something to do with California minimum wage laws. I think what they're doing, it seems to me, is that these drivers have taken every minute that they worked, lumped it all together, divided it by what they were paid, or took what they were paid, divided it by every minute they put into this, whether they were paid on the clock or not, and it came out to be less than California's minimum state wage. Which, okay, that's fine. I mean, I understand a lot of us want to be paid for every minute that we're in the truck, but there are no laws written to cover that right now, so this lawsuit is going nowhere.
Hopefully it won't go nowhere, because now, after this May filing that they did, opinion and order, and it was by this Chief Judge Gregory K. Frizzle. First off, they filed it in California federal court. Okay, Christner is not John Christner Trucking is not located in California. John Christner Trucking is located in Oklahoma. So then they got John Christner filed a change of venue. So they moved it to the federal. They moved it to the federal court, Northern District of Oklahoma.
It was filed in California because the claimant lives in California, and he's claiming that he wasn't paid California state minimum wage because after all was said and done, hourly wage, his fuel surcharge, divided by what he considers his working hours, didn't come up. What he actually ended up with didn't come up to California state minimum wage, and that's why he's taking them to California.
I understand that. But in trucking, if you're going to file a lawsuit against the company, you don't file it where you reside. You file the lawsuit in federal court against the trucking company of where the trucking company is located, because you are under those laws of that governing state. Even though you reside in California, you still have to abide by Oklahoma law.
Yeah, but he lives in California, and he's working in California. This Huddleston guy isn't working cross country. He's working California local. He's working from one end of California to the other, which is what was stated at the beginning of the contract. He does 89% of his work in the state of California. And he's having a heart attack because he's not getting California minimum wage. Well, he's counting more than likely every minute he's in his truck. He's obviously a regional driver, not a local driver. He's running up and down and back and forth the state of California. And for even his sitting hours getting unloaded, he thinks he should be paid for it. Yeah, in a perfect world, we'd all love to get paid for every minute we're in the truck. But that's not the trucking regulations as they are today. It's never been that way. Owner-operators do not get paid when they're sitting, period, unless you sit an exorbitant amount of time and you can put in detention pay. Or you're sitting in between loads, and you can put in layover pay.
Or if you are running for yellow freight and you're running union and you're running regional, and then when you bump the dock, then you go on the clock. He may be going by that because years ago that's what they used to do, but they were also under union.
Yeah, well, we're not unionized anymore. Very few companies are union now.
Right.
And unions have served to put multiple amounts of companies out of business. So
right.
I don't they were good when they were formed, but they long outlived their usefulness.
Right.
A lot of crybabies.
Now,
a lot of crybabies don't want to work for a living, but they want money.
Yeah, they want to get compensated for every time they turn around. Now, did you read
don't become a truck driver.
You read the complaint, but did you read to Christner's answer to the complaint?
No, I didn't. I was disgusted after reading 60. I was disgusted after reading 60 pages of repetitive complaints, repetitive reasons. 7 different reasons why they're bringing the petition just for minimum wage violations alone. By the time I got to the end of 60 pages, I was like, you know what?
You're burnt.
If I was the owner of JCT, I'd say, here you go. You are my lawyer. Represent me. I don't want anything to do with this.
I'm going back to
shaking
Oklahoma.
my head. I know. I'm shaking my head saying I'm glad he doesn't work for me anymore is what I'm saying. I'm telling you.
That's funny. I need to laugh on this show too, and a lot of times, I find that I'm like, okay, is there anybody out there? Is anybody listening? So when I got the review from someone on Twitter that said he listened to my show and he likes the show and everything, keep up the good work, I went, woo! And wow, there's actually people listening to this. And I'm like, wow, so I got a few subscribers on YouTube and everything, but anyway, so I was trying to pull that up. That's just not gonna come.
I have to say
it's not gonna even pull up.
I have to say this before they become part of the working norm. If they think it's bad now with adults whining and complaining, wait till they allow 18-year-olds to drive.
Well, I heard that, but I only heard that, and I researched that, and when it got into the FMCSA, it's only intrastate, not interstate. They can drive and get a CDL within the state boundaries, not over the road.
Yes, but companies are hurting for drivers, and they have a petition before the DOT and the FMCSA to allow 18, 19, 20-year-old drivers to drive interstate. It's not a regulation yet. They're trying to get it passed. Mm-hmm. I think it would be a huge mistake.
Oh,
huge mistake. I know some 28-year-olds that were a lot more responsible when they were in their previous occupations. They come to the trucking industry because they're vetted to be truckers now.
Right.
And they want 100% control of everything, even if they're company drivers. And some of them have done 4 years in certain places, and God bless them for it. But they come to work as truck drivers and think they deserve the same accolades. And you're just a truck driver now, dude.
Right.
I had one guy actually tell me to my face.
It ain't all that.
Guy actually tell me to my face that I was taking a man's job.
Oh, I've been getting that for 30 years. Why don't I stay at home? Why don't I take care of my old man? He wouldn't be cheating on me and all this kind of stuff. And I turned around and told him, well, you know what, dude? If you kept your ass at the house, excuse my language. I don't mean to cuss. I didn't say that, did I? I'll have to delete that. Anyway, if you kept your butt at the house, your old lady wouldn't be screwing your neighbor. That's exactly what I told him.
Yeah. Well, this isn't 1960
if you want to go
or
there,
1970 anymore.
If you want to go there, we can go there, dude. You don't bother me a doggone bit.
I stayed at home. I took care of my husband. I took care of my kids. I became a truck driver when I had nothing else to do.
Yeah, my kids are grown and gone. Thank you very much.
So are mine. And I got grown grandbabies. And I need to be a truck driver to give my grandbabies everything I can give them.
There you
go. They don't have to grow up to be truck drivers.
Yeah, exactly, right?
And file frivolous lawsuits.
Because
they're not getting paid for every minute of their time.
I heard that. She took her voice away from the mic. I heard that. It filed frivolous lawsuits. How about that? Just like Dan Bongino says. How about that?
Well, here's a question for you. See if you can research this one, Julia. How many women have brought lawsuits against their companies? I think you're going to find an overwhelming majority of these lawsuits, if not every one of them, was originally brought by a man.
Right.
Because they don't think they should be overworked. We're overworked.
I don't know. I'm thinking that maybe, the sexual discrimination stuff years ago, that we need to hire a certain race and a certain gender that all fell in line in construction, truck driving, all that, paper mill work, all this kind of stuff.
Well,
when we broke out into all of that stuff.
But that's a different type of lawsuit. That's a sexual harassment. That's a racism. That's a discrimination lawsuit. I'm talking about I'm not getting paid what I think I'm worth.
Oh, just under this classification. Okay.
Under this kind of classification, how many women think they're underpaid and overworked and are actually suing about it?
Every housewife?
I'm sure they've joined the lawsuit along with the man that brought it, but
every housewife is overworked and undercompensated.
Suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah. Suck it up, Buttercup. Do your job and shut up. You don't like it, don't be a truck driver. God.
Right?
Didn't you read the regulations before you became one?
Right?
Go work for a company. Complaining about stupid stuff.
Yeah, you went through.
I wish my company would pay my repairs.
We're not going to start that. That's another show. You and your truck. That's a whole other show, girlfriend.
Instead, they pay my repair bills. But they expect me to pay them back.
We'll borrow you the money right now, but we wanted to look at interest.
God
bless the company that you're working for.
I know. You know what I said to the guy that handles my repair loans the other day? I said, why didn't we use our heads last October after my knee replacement? I could have borrowed $5,000 from the company, got a brand new truck after beating the heck out of this one for 2.5 years. It was brand new when I got it. And paid that back, and I wouldn't be where I am now. And now I'm $10,000 down the road from January. I could have just borrowed $5,000 and got a brand new truck.
Listen to this.
Upgraded my truck.
Listen to this.
He laughed.
This Mr. Ford, he was an employee at JCT from 2014 to 2015. They kept my paychecks and my money from my maintenance account. I'm happy to hear about this lawsuit against them and would like to be a part of the lawsuit. Please email me the details.
Sounds like when he
else
left, they never gave him his money. Like PTO.
Yeah, you're right.
Oops, sorry, I didn't.
Right.
You have to bleep that. You have to bleep that. We're not allowed to say that.
We don't work for him anymore, and both of us work for the same outfit, and they did it to me as well. So, you know,
there are companies that when you leave them, they hold your money for 45 days. They have a right to do that. However, they're supposed to give you what's left eventually, and some never do.
Right.
Some never do. So he might legitimately be in for some compensation because when he left, they kept everything, and that's not legal either.
Right.
So, but as far as not making state minimum wage, oh well, Buttercup, get a life.
Okay, here's a administrative difficulty here. This is the reason why it got transferred to Oklahoma. First off, Huddleston contends that because the 13 and the 19 causes of action are based on California law, California federal court will be better equipped to apply California state law than the Oklahoma court. Huddleston does not exclusively bring California claims. The complaint also contains 4 causes of action under Oklahoma law, and in any case, federal judges routinely apply the law of a state other than the state in which they sit. So that factor does not weigh against the transfer. Administrative difficulties follow for courts when litigation is piled up in congested centers instead of being handled at its origin. Huddleston has submitted no evidence of court congestion, particular to Oklahoma, as opposed to California. It is his burden to show the public interest factors weigh in his favor. He has failed to meet his burden as to this public interest factor. So, in other words, the public interest would be better if we had it in California because there's prejudice against me in Oklahoma, blah, 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 kind of thing. You know, in sum, the court finds that the public interest factors do not overwhelmingly disfavor enforcing the forum selection clause. Huddleston has not met his burden of demonstrating that this is an exceptional case in which the court should set aside a valid forum selection clause. For the foregoing reasons, the court grants, in part, defendant's motion to dismiss or, in the alternative, transfer the venue and orders this case transferred to the Northern District of Oklahoma for all further proceedings. There you go.
Well, there you go.
And you know, yeah, and this goes localized interests and all this kind of stuff. So this was a decision. Let's see, real fast because we're close to being out of time for this show. Yay! I'm going to do almost an hour. Memorandum decision in order. Defendant's motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction or an alternative to transfer the venue. So what that means is that Christner filed a motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. Okay, meaning that it wasn't filed. It was filed in California instead of Oklahoma or whatever, because even though he was working in California, the headquarters of the Christner company is in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. Okay, that's where he was originally hired. Okay, but he was just working out of an office out of California, like out of a yard in one of their subsidiary yards in California. But he really did have to file it in Oklahoma, where the headquarters is based. And
well, there you go.
So, and that's the reason why, speaking from my paralegal background and legal secretary background, you know, that's the reason why it was moved to Oklahoma. So I'm going to be following this case in the future and keeping everybody abreast of what's going on and different things that are filed, along with, you know, all of this I will put in the show notes that everybody can read it for themselves, read 60 pages, and get good and disgusted like you. So there you go.
I'll be interested to see if they win this lawsuit. I would like to see drivers that were it is. But I would like to see drivers that whose money unjustly got kept, get their money. But
right.
I tell you what, if this guy wins, but he didn't get minimum wage, then I'm starting a lawsuit.
Oh boy.
Because
Now
I
the notice
spend
of
a
claim
large...
to join. The notice of claim to join this. We're running out of time. The notice of claim to join this lawsuit is September. So they're right now, since May, they've been fighting, Huddleston and JTK has been fighting about what the proper verbiage and everything for the notice of claim to be sent out to the drivers. And it's only from May of 2015 to May of 2018. That's it. If you were any time before that period, you're not in it. But thank you so much, Lori, for joining me this evening and discussing this. I really enjoyed it. We have to do this again. And it's almost like a girl night long distance almost. The two old lease operators. Trashing.
We work our butts off.
Trashing the companies, and see what's going on out there and everything. So thank you again for joining me this evening. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. And to everyone else, thank you so much. All right, and I will let you go. You have a good evening.
You too.
And again, I want to thank everybody for subscribing. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes under podcast, iHeartRadio under podcast. Just look for Julia's Trucking Cafe. Go to the website, juliastruckingcafe.com. Look around the cafe menu. It's a drop-down menu. You'll see recipes. You'll see the show notes. You'll see the shows from the archives. And also, like I said, on YouTube, please subscribe. You want to ring the bell to get notifications when I upload a video like this evening. And I look forward to having more special guests on, more people calling in, putting their 2 cents worth in, or their, the speed limit in, or whatever you want to say, to our discussion. That would be really great to get several people calling in and having a group discussion about these kind of topics. So please keep that in mind. Our caller number is 213-943-3411. That's 213-943-3411. And I look forward to talking with all of you next week. Take care and have a good week. Shiny side up and stay safe.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey folks, Dirk Bentley here. If you've seen one of my concerts, you know I'm all about energy. Performing, recording, traveling, being a husband and a father, it's a busy life, and I need to be 100% every day. So when my battery starts running low, I grab a sugar-free, vitamin-packed 5-hour energy shot. It tastes great, and it gets me back to 100% fast. Try it. It could work for your busy life too. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com.